Alright folks, so it would probably be better if we could start to be able to see our lightsabers. So what we're going to do here is create another method. And this is central to the idea of using classes and objects. Here we've declared our fields. Here we've declared our constructors. And then after the constructors come the methods. And the methods are what the object can do. Okay, and what can a lightsaber do? Well, the first thing a lightsaber can do is a lightsaber can extend. Okay? And so, you can turn it on and turn it off. And so we want to add some sort of functionality to it where when we click the mouse on it, the lightsaber gets longer, it actually activates. And then it shows the right color and is the right length and all of that business. So we're going to create a function here. Okay, notice it's different than the constructors. I have to start it off with one of these keywords, just like with custom functions. And we're going to call this function render. And render just means to show a picture using a computer program. So we're going to actually draw our object. Okay? And void render is going to draw the hilt. So let's draw the hilt. And then let's draw the blade if extended. Okay, so let's do that. The hilt is just going to be a rectangle, so let's draw a rectangle. And now we have the question, where is the lightsaber on the screen? Okay, and so we actually are running into a problem here. We need more information. So we're going to go up here and create some more fields or variables. Let's create an X and a Y position for the lightsaber. And let's say, let's draw this thing at X and Y. And notice here that this variable, this is the biggest idea for object-oriented programming here, X and Y are specific for the individual lightsaber. So Luke has his own X and Y because he's a copy of this class. Vader and Maul have a copy of the lightsaber and their own copy of X and Y that are totally independent of each other. So when I say rectangle X and Y, that literally is the X and Y for that specific lightsaber, which could be totally different for any other one. And let's draw it here, say 100 pixels wide and 30 pixels tall. Okay, and then we'll set the fill here to be kind of a gray, like the hilt of the lightsaber. 100 out of 255 is pretty gray, maybe a little lighter, I don't know. And we'll set the stroke to be a bit darker than that. Okay. So now we have a method that we can call here that draws the lightsaber. Okay, but we also want to be able to draw the blade if it's extended. Okay, now how are we going to do that? Well, it looks like we need some more information. Our design of our object isn't quite perfect. We're going to need another Boolean on. And this way we can know if the lightsaber is on or not. And now we should probably do the work of cleaning up our object and stuff. So we added the position of them, and we added whether it's on or not. So where should we put that information? Well, when the object is built, we want to set that information. So let's say up here, X is going to equal 10, and perhaps Y equals 10, just for the default one. And does it start on? No, it starts off, because otherwise that would be a very dangerous lightsaber. Okay, so if the blade is extended here, we want to say if on, because on is a Boolean, so we don't have to do any testing or less than or greater than. We can just say if on. Then we're going to draw another rectangle that is the blade, and we're going to draw it at X plus 100, because that's the width. Okay, and Y. And it's going to be, how long is the blade? Well, we have a variable for that. It's called blade length. And it'll be the same width, or the same height as the other object. We also need to change the fill. We have a color for that. So because we kept track of all this, we can go ahead and just stick that right in here. Fill C. And we'll change the stroke to C, just so it looks more like a lightsaber. So this isn't going to be the best looking lightsaber in the world, but it'll work. Okay. So, we have a few problems with this. The secondary constructor now needs to take care of this as well. And so we're going to need to add areas for it to say add float X, tell us about float Y, and tell us whether it's on or not. And remember here, I'm using kind of these other versions of these variables because they don't really matter. They're just going to get passed from up here and then turned right into the fields of the object. So we give them these kind of goofy names like capital C instead of lowercase c, just to keep track of who is who. And then we do the simple legwork here of saying x equals x. So this x is a part of the object, and this x is coming from the variable, the constructor when it was called. Y equals y, and on equals on. Okay? So up here, then we got to set those things. You know, let's move Darth Vader's, keep it at 10, but move it down a bit here. Move it down to 50, and it's of course going to be off to start with, because that's dangerous. And then we'll keep this one at 10, but we'll move it down even more. And we will also keep it false. Okay, so we've passed all that information. See how all of these match up with all of these. Okay, this one is the only one where it's sort of pre-programmed in. Okay, so next I'll show you how to actually, render the lightsaber, and then we'll create some functions to actually turn it on and off when you click the mouse. Great.